Hey, welcome to Pat Soundbytes Unplugged podcast, rocking the world. Keeping new music alive is what I do. I got a crazy, awesome session, as I always do. And you know, the best content, the best videos, and the best in new music, whether I play it on the radio, on our rotation, which I always do. But I also going to launch Squid TV sooner than you think. And we're going to also showcase and support and promote the videos. As you know, most great new music has a video because, you know, the video can go viral, but I don't know how many little octopuses in the ocean are listening to me and others that love to promote new music. That being said, I got founding member, bassist, songwriter, producer, Mr. Bob Madsen on the on-deck circle from the band, the Grafenberg Disciples. You see that cool logo right behind me. They have released their first single called Cry a Million Tears. Going to be coming off their second album called Breathing Through My Nose. I love that. That's insane. We'll talk to Bob about that. But first, let's rock a little of this great band and play a little video. And of course, you've heard it from me a million times. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share it with your friends because that's the world we live in today, folks. I know you know that if you follow me. So let's rock a little Cry a Million Tears. Check this video out. Check out this band. This is pretty cool.
Song weaves its lonely story under a lone street light, a bluesy refrain, a song about love's pain.
Channel or Highlander Company Records and hit the subscribe button and watch it and raise the numbers because that's, Lord knows, that's what we all need to do these days. Okay, enough of me rambling on. Let's bring up our guest, Mr. Bob Madsen. How are you, Bob?
Hey, how you doing? Hey, I got to tell you, this is something actually that's pretty funny. The name of the album is Breathing Through My Ears. And you said, breathing through my nose. I kid you not, a gentleman last week said, breathing through my eyes. I think by next week, we're going to work our way all the way around the head. You know, we're gonna cover it all. I love it.
I've been getting over bronchitis, so who the hell knows, Bob? But I'm sorry about that. Breathing through.
No worries. I thought it was great.
It's so fitting with the band's name. I cracked up when Jody hit me up. I'm like, what?
So then you obviously know who Dr. Grafenberg is.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sir. The old G-Spot. What a guy. To name it after himself. I mean, women of the world must love this guy.
Well, you know, the thing is, well, that's exactly my thoughts to a point. To a T. I thought that this was hilarious, that here's this guy. He plants his flag on this discovered spot. And said, I'm going to name it after myself. And I could just imagine women all over the world going, oh, yeah, that's real nice, honey. Let's put that up on the refrigerator with the drawing you did last week, okay?
Next to all the kids' drawings and a few magnets. I found this.
You know, and we've been looking for it ever since.
Oh, my God. It's like a hidden gem. Are you kidding me? You can't make this up, Bob.
Yeah, well, actually, the first album was called Johnny on the Spot.
Yes.
And now this one's Breathing Through My Ears because, let's face it, that is a skill that every Grafenberg disciple should learn.
Yes, I could tell you a lot of Italians that do that skill quite well, but
there you go.
We'll leave it at that because I got a Oh my God, I can go on. We could take this to another level, Bob.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Trust me, a New Yorker, an Italian, the G spot. We probably would offend somebody. I don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah,
we need numbers.
We need to keep it family friendly.
It's all in good taste, and it's all very good. My goodness, I like you said, you mentioned Johnny on the Spot. I wanted to hear more. I fell in love with, oh my goodness, Music on the Wind for the SOB. I mean, there were some great tracks on your first album. I love the bass line, dude. You can play. I love a lot of the bass on those songs. I'm like, but well, let's talk about Cry a Million Tears and talk about Hans, because I know I'm going to screw up Eppenberg. I'm not Eppenberg. I've had a long day.
Let me stop you right there before you sprain something.
Yes.
Okay. We don't want that to happen.
No.
His name is Hans Eberbach. Okay.
But he said.
Born in Germany, but has been living in the United States for almost all of his life. And he is an absolute hidden gem in the Sacramento area of Northern California. He's well known in the area, plays with some great bands, but he just hasn't received the national recognition that is, by all rights, his due. He is a world-class singer. And I'm hoping to actually get him to the point where we can create a vehicle, or we're creating a vehicle, where he'll get that recognition that he so richly deserves.
I just crank on the headphones or whatever I'm listening to and crank on, and man, and I hope he can listen and watch, and I know you'll share. Hans, I mean, if Sting, Chris Martin of Coldplay, and Dave Matthews had a kid, my goodness, he got this funk, soul, natural, laid back. I mean, I hear Dave Matthews, and then the second time, the third time I heard it, I got my eyes closed. I'm listening to Chris Martin of Coldplay, and then you hear a little accent, a little Sting, so he's got it all covered. He's got a very really velvet, soulful voice that, and boy, can this guy act. I mean, if you watch the video, you go,
so I've got
holy crap, so powerful.
I've got some funny stories about that. First off, Hans has a nickname within the band, and his nickname is Marcia.
Oh, no, Marcia, the Brady Bunch?
It's always about Marcia.
That's about the only one I know.
And it comes from a time when we were in the studio with a bunch of famous drummers down in Los Angeles for the Neal Peart tribute song that we did on the first album called No Words. And we got done with the sessions in a little bit shorter time than I had anticipated. So we had some time in the studio. So we pulled up some of the stems, and we were, the tracks that we had just got done recording with him, and played it to some of these drummers. And they were just going off on, oh my God, what incredible vocals. That sounds great. Look at that tone. And Hans, his head's going like this, right?
Kool-Aid!
Exactly. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, well, what about the songs? What about the lyrics?
Yeah, right. I wrote it.
What about the bass line?
Yeah, right.
Aren't I pretty too?
Yeah, exactly.
Marcia, that was it. That became his nickname right then and there. And I would agree with everything that you're saying about his voice, but I'd throw a few more in on that particular little orgy you got going there.
Go ahead.
That is, I also hear Peter Cox from Go West.
Okay.
Peter Gabriel.
Yes, I can say that. Yes.
Definite Peter Gabriel. Terrence Trent D'Arby.
Okay.
Okay. And some of his riffing is Sam Green. I mean, it's just the guy's got it all. I'm having so much fun being able to write songs for him to sing, and then him taking whatever I do and bringing it to that next level, just raising the bar across the board. And then as far as the acting on that first video, that's the first time Hans had ever tried to act.
Wow.
And I was blown away. At first, we were down in Woodland Hills, California, and we had the lovely Eve Morrow as his girlfriend, cast as his girlfriend. And she's been on things like NCIS and The Oath and Cypher and all these different movies. She's a working actress, and she is just 100% pro. And the first couple of takes were kind of stiff. They didn't really groove. And so my line producer, this incredibly talented lady by the name of Arlene Barshinger, and Eve started working with Hans. And Arlene kind of like huddled with him, and they were whispering back and forth. And she was essentially teaching him method acting right there on the spot during the shooting of this video. And so he started tapping into these emotions and this sort of pain from his life. And now Hans and I are friends, so I know where most of those particular skeletons lie. And so as we're doing this, it actually was very, very uncomfortable for me, because I wrote the script and I directed the video, but as I'm watching one of my dearest friends dredging up the most painful memories that he can think of and put that into his acting, I know what he's going through. I know what he's thinking.
Wow.
And so I'm sitting here going, oh, I feel so bad for this guy. And then at the end, it's like, okay, that was incredible. Can we get one more take?
Oh, no.
I felt like such a heel, but the results speak for themselves.
He owned it. He really
very
owned
particular
it.
about it. He really owned it, didn't he?
Yeah, no,
he did a great job.
There was no like, a breakup, no big deal, hugging a kiss. He owned it. It was very powerful, very emotional. You would think that this guy's done this a dozen times, and now they hear the story behind it, because there's always a story of, she says, look, you got to own it. You're a couple. Think about the worst thing that maybe happened. You lost friends, you lost something, and you had to break up or whatever, and take a minute and just drill that in your head and then let it all come out.
Yeah.
And, oh man, that's brutal.
It was
successful. I mean, you feel like you said, you're almost like, all right, let's come up with another way of doing this, because I'm watching my friend bawling.
I'm watching my friend suffer.
Yeah. And
the funny thing was, and not a funny thing, but a kind of an ironic thing, is I was very disappointed when a DJ told me that this song was not going to be up for the Feel Good Song of the Year.
Oh, come on. Really? Oh, yeah, delete. Next. Marsha. Come on. Marsha. This guy, I mean, your whole band is very talented. Greg Bissonette. I mean, come on. I just saw Greg, and I get to see him with Ringo Starr's All-Star Band. I'm friends with Edgar Winter. I mean, Greg Bissonette. Are you kidding me? I don't know the other gentleman, but watching No Words, the video, that Chad, man, oh my goodness, can that guy play? I mean, incredible guitar player. Who else am I missing? I'm missing Jerry, and Jerry on keys.
So Jerry, I've known Jerry for over 30 years. I've known Chad for over 40 years. He and I were in high school together, and we were friends in high school. Now he currently tours with members of Heart as a touring musician in a band called Heart by Heart, which is fantastic Heart music, really good stuff. And for that particular video, the No Words, that was actually written as a tribute to Neal Peart, who was a big influence on all of us in the band. There's lots of Rush little things going on throughout our music, and even throughout the Cry a Million Tears video. And this was a wonderful opportunity for Chad to channel his #1 guitar hero, Alex Lifeson.
Oh boy.
And so we just said, okay, dude, I want you to do exactly what Alex would do. And he brought it. He brought it with spades.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I remember my first Rush concert over here in Poughkeepsie, 1981, and on 4th row, looking at Alex, I'm like, what is going on here? And I probably seen him like 6 or 7 times throughout the whole, 40 years or so, and just incredible. I mean, there are trios that, Triumph and the Police, there are great trios out there, but there's Rush was like something we never even, Prague, right? You never even knew what is this? I mean, Geddy with the long hair, he's playing the bass like a monster. He's on the kid. And you look at Neal's set, the Professor, and then, as a fan, I'm starting to get into this and realizing that he wrote the song. He was the guy behind it, which is really different. like and I want to talk about that in a second. Of you're the songwriter, but Hans has to really sell it. And here Neal's the songwriter, the lyricist of all the great Rush tracks. Right. And here's Geddy's got to like sell it like he owned it. It's like,
it takes a singular talent. It takes a singular talent to be able to do that. Geddy, from what I understand, it was very uncommon that Geddy even had to edit what Neal wrote. You know, not enough syllables, too many syllables, whatever. So whatever some synergy those two had, you know, Neal knew how to write for Geddy. Geddy knew what he was going to get from Neal, and he knew how to put that to a melody. So it's amazing. And with Hans, let's put it this way: when we'll record multiple takes of things, and with Hans, it's always a situation where I never have to go through looking for the best take to use. I have to go through and try and find, of all of these wonderful takes, which one am I going to use? So it's a matter of, it's almost having too many choices.
Wow.
Too many options. I can go this way. I can go this way. Oh, wow, he did that really good. Oh, now I'm falling in love with this take.
A producer's nightmare, right?
Yes, analysis paralysis. Yeah. But the end result is that Hans has a way of taking what I write and making it his own. He internalizes it, much like he did with the emotions in the video. He's done the same thing over 2 albums with me, and the results are probably some of the best music I've ever written.
I tried. Well, I was gonna buy. I don't know why I haven't. Geddy went on tour to promote his bass book, the coffee table book, and he was coming to New York City, and I'm like, I gotta go. But it wasn't really a meet and greet, you know, no picture. I mean, you got to say hello to the guy, but I mean, I wanted more. I wanted like, dude, really?
Yeah.
But
I understand he has over 300 basses.
Oh yeah, I was. Oh my God, crazy.
Yeah, I'll never catch up to that. Matter of fact, if I do, I'll be divorced.
Well, his autographed baseball collection. He's got almost every, well, I wouldn't say every president, but he's got a lot of U.S. president autographs on baseballs. His collection is out of this world. I mean, it's just. But I just wanted to just chat with the guy. I'm like, wow.
I know.
I see Alex has moved on with Envy of None, and he was around doing a little promo, but not too much. I think you'll see them back. I mean, obviously, without Neal, it's never gonna be Rush, but it'll be interesting. I mean, that's what musicians do. I'm not a musician, Bob, but I'm sure if something happened, you know, you're still writing, because that's what you do. Your creative energy, expression into music. You just don't go, okay, you know, the Rolling Stone. Well, that's a little bit different. Losing Charlie, they haven't really put too much new out. But
well, I will say this. So when we did the No Words video, okay, that video actually features never before seen footage of Neal riding from location to location on the last tour, the R40 tour. And I actually got that footage, wild, surreal situation where it was actually on the 1-year anniversary of Neal's death. I actually found myself in the stateroom of a yacht down in Southern California, drinking scotch that was old enough to vote with 2 of Neal's best friends.
Wow.
Okay. And
can't get any closer than that.
No. And it was amazing because I got to hear all the behind the scenes stories. I got to hear all the shenanigans that they got up to when they were.
Well, hold on. Let me stop you right there. How did you hook up with them? How did you reach out and say, look, I'm working on something? Are you interested?
One of the guys had seen or heard the song and absolutely loved it.
Okay.
And as a result, he kind of reached out to me and said, hey, this is really cool. And then we started a dialogue, and I said, I'm going to be doing a video, and I'm probably going to try and do this. And, you know, hey, could you help me maybe get some clearance with the Rush organization to make sure that I don't run afoul or offend anybody?
Right.
And he said, well, I'll do you one better. I've got a hard drive full of all the footage that I took while I was riding with Neal from place to place on the tour.
Wow.
His job was to ride with Neal. And so, gold mine. I mean, that's an absolute gold mine. So it just so happened that, you know, I went down to Southern California. We were supposed to meet up and transfer all the files. And then I just that day, I realized what day it was. And I had no idea. I hadn't put two and two together in my head. It was January 7th. And I called him and I said, "Are you sure you want to get together tonight? Because, you know, this is what it is." And he said, "No, man, come on over. Come on over." So I went over. And then while we were there, another friend of theirs, who was all part of the inner circle with Neal, called and said, "Hey, I'm coming over with a bottle of Glenmorangie." I said, "Come on over." So the three of us, actually, there was four of us in the stateroom. We're sitting there, and he was showing me pictures and videos, and they're talking about this and talking about that. And to pull this back to what you were saying, I got the very definite impression that the inner circle of Rush know that Rush is over. There will not be a reformation of any kind. They've realized that that was a unique synergy of energy and talent and personalities that cannot be replicated. Now, will they go off and do something else? Yes. Alex has done Envy of None as a guest and enjoyed the process so much that he lent his name and everything to it. There are various things happening on the outside circles of Rush, like Bubba Bash that was just put on by my friend Michael. And they raised, I think, something like over $50,000 that night for Neal's cancer charity.
Outstanding.
Okay? Which is the same cancer charity that all of the proceeds from No Words go to. We set up a link with Cedar Sinai, so anything from that song or that video goes directly to Neal's cancer.
Watch the video. At the end of it, there's the link, and you can still donate. So I just want to throw that in there.
And then they used that same link for the Bubba Bash and raised a whole lot more, which is just fantastic. So there's a lot of energy and a lot of interest in Rush these days. But I think Geddy, I don't want to put any words in anybody's mouth or speak for anybody, because I am not part of the real inner circle. Okay. But I think what they're doing is they are turning their creative energies to other things. Geddy's writing an autobiography I cannot wait to read it. It's supposed to be coming out sometime this fall in 24. Alex has the Envy of None, and he's got some other stuff that he was doing with some other people, with old friends. They have the beer.
They got the beer. Right.
Now they've got a mustard that they're doing. They're still being creative. They're still doing the things that they want to do. But let's face it, those guys, literally, they worked their asses off for 40 years.
No doubt.
If they want to retire, more power to them. They completely earned it.
No doubt about it. We're hanging out with those guys, and you know, it's like Neal's almost there, having a drink with you, listening to the story. What type of, you know, I remember hearing Geddy do an interview, and it kind of made, and it was after he brought it up after Neal died, and he said one thing about, you know, they talked about meet and greets and the fans, and he said, man, the first thing Neal did after he got off that stage was, you know, grab a towel, grab a cold water, and put on a motorcycle, and he was gone. There was no such autographs or anything, and boom. And that, it was great to see that in the video, and obviously in your video when you and Hans get together and you guys take a ride. I believe that's you and Hans taking
that's
a
another
ride.
friend of mine, Brian. He was
okay.
Another big.
And then it kind of segued into the video that you just described with Neal and his buddy behind him videotaping him. And Geddy was like, you know, it was kind of weird, but that was just him. Did they share anything like that? I mean, he was always an introvert that way, or was there a reason he was like that way?
Yes, actually, he was always an introvert. He was always very uncomfortable with sort of overt attention. His thing, he was very self-driven, very, very self-driven, self-motivated man, where his driving force was the pursuit of perfection. He wanted perfection in himself. He wanted perfection in his business dealings and in his performances, especially in his performances, which is why I think he wanted to stop touring when he did, because he felt he was going out at a point where his expectation of his performance met his physical ability to perform what he wanted to do. And he felt that was starting to slip, and he didn't want to go out that way.
Oh,
and
smart.
he made a comment that if he was playing Charlie Watts style music, he could keep going. And there was no disrespect to Charlie Watts. It's just a different type of drumming.
Absolutely.
The physicality of what he did, the way he wanted, when he hit a snare, he used to say that he was hitting the floor beneath the snare. He wanted to hit through the snare to hit the floor.
Crazy.
That kind of physicality, there's a reason why athletes get out of their sport after a certain amount of time. Okay. And I think he had that knowledge going in his head. With regards to the motorcycle riding, that actually is where I was actually more of a fan of his books and the motorcycle riding. And he was actually a primary influence on why I learned to ride and why I ride and why I have the same bike that he rode. I ride Beamers. And I think what it was he didn't want to get caught up in that adoration. It made him very, very uncomfortable. So as soon as he got off the stage, a beeline to the bus. The bus was warmed up and ready to go. And then they got out of the venue before the people could get out to their cars. 2 logistical reasons. One, he didn't want to have to, it didn't like the adoration. And number 2, he wanted to get away from the logjam that was going to happen on the exodus of all those fans so that he could get to a place where he could actually turn off the bus, get a few hours of sleep before hitting the road on the motorcycle the first thing in the morning, which was one of the greatest loves of his life, was being on that bike. I can understand.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I used to teach classes, so after doing 8 hours, once you're done, you're done. Take the time off. I just want to chill. I can't even imagine doing a show. It's the same adrenaline. You're excited, you're pumped, and then when it's over, I don't want to hear from anybody. I just need 20 minutes by myself to chill, relax, and then go to, take a shower, go out to dinner. So I certainly, I get that. It's just the lyrics. I mean, those songs where he came up with the language and the use of the English language. And, I'm like, I seen pictures of him with a crossword book, and he seemed like he loved to read and really absorb the language, and then to be able to express it musically. There was nobody that came close to the songs and the stories behind some of those songs. Like, you go, wow, it's like mind-boggling. Besides his playing,
Yeah. Stephen King once wrote that an author is somebody who falls in love with words. They want to eat words. They want to breathe words. They want to roll around in words all day long. That was my impression of Neal. And then when he was an avid reader, all sorts of different subjects, fiction, nonfiction, etc. An avid explorer of life. His quote was if you want to say his family words, were, "What is the most excellent thing I can do today?"
Wow.
And then find a way to do that. And part of that was he was just a lifelong learner, as far as I can tell from reading all of his books. And I know that he's always had this fascination with the written word, with being able to tell a story in black and white on paper, and to transport somebody to another world. And so I know that he was also it was very important to him to be the best that he could be at any endeavor that he undertook. So I know from stories that he spent many a year in his garage with a typewriter or a computer, practicing, learning, trying to figure out what's the best. He honed his craft. Now, one of his dearest friends, an author by the name of Kevin J. Anderson, who actually wrote a series of books with Neal, Clockwork Angels, Clockwork Destiny, Clockwork Lives. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Clockwork Angels, Clockwork Lives, Clockwork Destiny. That's the thing. After the No Words video came out, I got this email saying, or actually I think it was a message on Facebook or one of the social media platforms, saying, "I just wanted to let you know that I feel like I've just gotten a gut punch and a warm hug at the same time. Thank you for No Words." and it was Kevin J. Anderson.
Oh wow! I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
and
beautiful tribute. I mean, the
it was
comments on the video, or I mean, people were bawling. I mean, every little.
it was amazing.
I mean,
But
the fans' inserts of their videos. Some of the drummers, Sully of Godsmack, Mike, not Dream, yeah, Dream Theater, and Sons of Apollo, and Winery Dogs. I mean, just yeah, he had such a connection. Do you remember where you were or how it affected you when you heard of his death?
yes, I remember I was upstairs in my house, and somebody called me. I don't remember exactly how, but I remember I had to sit down. I couldn't stand. I had to sit down, and I was just gobsmacked. I didn't know really how to take it. Now, what I was going to say is there's some good that has happened out of this. Okay, number one, we've been able to raise money. We've been able to raise awareness on what this horrible disease is, and trying to keep his legacy in the forefront of people, and this disease awareness going, so that maybe we can raise some money. Maybe we can do something about this. This would be great. But on a personal level, I've found it where I've made some wonderful connections with people. The Rush fans are some of the most welcoming, warm, receptive people in the world. Very opinionated, but they're wonderful people. And one of the great friendships that actually has developed out of this is a very nice friendship with Kevin. Kevin Anderson and I have become friends over the last couple of years. And this is actually really exciting for me. We've actually begun working on some projects together. And so I helped Kevin with a script writing project for another friend of mine, Dan Reed of the Dan Reed Network. He's doing a movie. Kevin is now the script consultant for that movie. It's a sci-fi movie that's going to be coming out hopefully in 24 or 25. Really exciting stuff. But also, Kevin and I just finished writing a script for a new video that'll be coming out probably this summer for the Grafenberg Disciples for the song Wants and Needs, which is going to be told in the format of a comic book. And I just received the very first panel from that comic book from the very respected comic book artist Agustin Padilla. I'm probably horribly butchering his name, but so that's actually coming out too. So there's been these friendships that I'm hoping will be lifelong friendships that have developed out of this. So all I can say is I'm grateful.
Bob, no such thing as a coincidence. I always say that all the time. Things happen for a reason. Yes, we lost Neal, but I mean, the connection that you have made with his closest friends. Can you imagine a book, a notebook that he has to have or had maybe at the house of just writing and writing, like you said, typing and writing? I mean, it's got to be the size of a yellow page that should be in a museum somewhere. Like, when Bob Dylan wrote all his stuff with, over here in Woodstock, not too far from me, there's, I don't want to say the Bearsville Theater, and they have a room dedicated for like what it was back in the 60s. And there's a room just dedicated for where Bob Dylan, wrote, and he's like, there's a old typewriter, and there's the whole Lucky Stripes and a pile of cigarette stubs, and all that crazy stuff, and a few handwritten things here and there. I can't even imagine the type of documents that, or the papers, the notebook that Neal has had. It certainly belongs in some sort of Rush museum. That would be, and that would be a great idea to just put people through it, the diehard fans like ourselves, and all the money proceeds go again to Cedar Sinai or somewhere that it can help out.
From what I understand, I've been told that there are no missing tapes. There are no unreleased songs from the albums. And as far as, sort of, if you might call it manuscripts.
Yes.
Something that Neal was working on. I've never heard of anything. Again, I'm not that close. I'm not really that far into the inner circle. But my understanding is that Neal was very, very particular about, he was particular about everything in life, but he was also extremely particular about the representation of his work. And if he felt that something was unfinished or not quite ready to present to the world, then I think we should probably respect that. And I also think that those types of things, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't think it was good enough, he just threw it away.
Probably.
I don't think he'd actually save it. But again, that's my conjecture. But I think my personal opinion is out of respect for the man, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for the man, even though I've never met him, would be that if he didn't think he was ready for the world, I wouldn't push it. That's between him and his conscience.
He was very, very, certainly not in the limelight, as we said before, introvert. You never knew he was sick. It was like a surprise to hear his death. Like, what? Wow, how did this happen? Why? And it took, if I recall, it took like a week or so, maybe even longer. People like, what happened? But it was up to the guys and his family and the respect that goes with it, that it'll eventually come out, and it did. But wow,
like the Rush lyric is take a friend and keep him till the end.
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
Those three were really, really close. They were very good friends. And I know that it was a very closely held secret. There were people that knew. Neal didn't try and hide it from his family or his close friends. But I think it's a tribute to the nature of that friendship and the nature of that camaraderie and love that that group shared, was that nobody leaked it. It really was held very, very closely.
Yeah, that's the love. That's the love you have for that. That's the love that you have for your friend. That's the least you can do. That's why you're in the inner circle.
There was an interesting story during the recording of the No Words video. There actually are some very small loops from a couple of songs, Rush songs, that are in the background that function as like percussion in that song. And of course, Greg Bissonette played the drums on that. And when we got done tracking it, he came into the control room and we were listening back to the tracks. And he had his head down. He has this little work table that he works at. Okay. And I was on the couch. He was at this table off to my left, and his head was down. And we're listening to it, and we're just going, "Wow, this is really incredible. We've got something here." And I look over at Greg, and he looks up at me, and his eyes are all red, and he's got tears running down his face. And I said, "Stop the playback! Stop the playback!" "Greg, what's wrong?" And he looked at me and he said, "I never thought I'd be jamming with Neal again."
Wow. He has performed before with Neal?
Neal and Neal and Greg were both big swing jazz, not aficionados, but enthusiasts. They were both big Buddy Rich fans.
Okay. I'm thinking Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich.
Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich. Buddy Rich was one of Neal's earliest influences. And so together, those two put on a tribute show in New York that sold out several days. It's called Burning for Buddy. And it was with the Buddy Rich Orchestra and all these famous drummers that came in. They even did
I remember my buddy Carmine, a piece talking about that. Carmine was probably part of it. Yes. No doubt about it.
Yeah. And I remember they even did a swing jazz version of YYZ. And so before that, after Neal had gotten off of the unfortunate events that gave rise to the Ghostwriter book, when he came off the road, he wanted to relearn drums. He wanted to do something different, and he was really interested in learning a little bit more about swing jazz. So he and Greg would get together in Greg's living room. They'd set up two drum sets facing each other, and they would jam swing jazz techniques together.
How cool is that?
Could you imagine being a fly on a wall on that one?
Wow.
And so, yes, the two of them were really tight for a while. And it really, really affected Greg hearing this and the knowledge that he was actually playing along with Neal on this song. And it was, it's phenomenal. I will never forget that moment.
Yeah. I mean, you can't make that up. It's kind of the emotion behind it. Then what he said to you is like,
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, talk to me about Cry a Million Tears, because I see here on the release that there's a little Rush Easter egg sprinkle that I got to see, and I don't want to give them away to what I saw. I saw probably like 4, 5, 6. I didn't pay too much attention.
No, then if you did, then you nailed it, because I think there is only about 5 or 6.
Okay. I'm not going to go there, but if you're a Rush fan, you'll know exactly from the beginning of the video until the end. You'll get to see, and I'll give you one. Poor Hans is wearing a Rush t-shirt, but that's all I'm going to say. You can figure out the rest, and then they got to email you, right? Or email the record label info at the highlanderco.com.
Yes. So what we did was we worked in a bunch of different Rush Easter eggs into the video, and if you can pick them out, email us at info@thehighlanderco.com. That's thehighlanderco.com. And if you find them, we'll send you a free download of the album. Okay.
Nice.
And that T-shirt that Hans is wearing is actually a Rush tribute band called.
It does say that, a tribute band.
Rash is the name of the tribute band.
And the girl had it on too. No. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's 2. Shut up, Pat. Okay, I'm done. That's it.
But yeah, it's basically with the incredibly warm reception we received on the No Words video. We wanted to see if we could tie those fans in on the new thing as well. It was just an additional way we could do a little tip of the cap and, a nod of respect to the boys up north. And, kind of again say that, they're still influencing us. They're still part of our music.
Bob, great job, and keep rocking. Let me just talk about the album, Breathing Through My Ears, not my nose. EP, album, another single coming out with another video. What's the game plan?
We've got a bunch of stuff for you. We were very, very active behind the scenes during COVID. And we're actually working on our 4th video. So we've got another 2 that are in the can, ready to be released.
Emotional for Hans, please.
No,
please. I couldn't. The poor guy, you have to hear that story.
No. We've been putting him on Prozac or something. We have 2 more videos that are already in the can, ready to go. The album is set to release everywhere on April 7th of 2023. So it will be anywhere you listen, anywhere you buy, it's going to be there. And we also have, that also happens to correspond to our very first live gig. We're doing a live record release party here in Auburn, California on April 7th. Really looking forward to that. We've got a fantastic lineup on the band, just the cream of the crop from all over California. They're flying in to actually perform on this thing.
Wow.
And we've got a great headliner by the name of Achilles Wheel that's going to be at the show. These guys are amazing. So I think it's going to be a great night of entertainment. And then we have, like I said, another 2 in the can and 1 in progress that I hope will be somewhat groundbreaking. I've never heard of anybody approaching a song in quite the same way. And one of the neat things is being able to work with my friend Kevin in developing this sort of groundbreaking approach to presenting a song. And I will say this, it bridges the gap between 2 separate interests of mine and hobbies. One is music, actually 3. One is music. One is the video process, which I've become kind of enamored of producing and directing videos recently. And the third is comic books.
Wow. Yeah, you mentioned that before. Comic books.
I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay. Well, hey, you call me. I'm the new music guy. I can't wait for the album to come out. I was itching for more, and I had to go back to Johnny on the Spot. And man, you know what? I'm a diverse guy. I like, I don't care if it's classic rock. The old station I was with, we came up with a tag name, Classic Rock Redefined. So I could do whatever I want to do. I mean, I'm not a corporate. We weren't corporate, and I'm not going to sit here and beat up corporate radio. But it's like a lost art. There's so much good music out there, and you don't have to be tagged with classic rock. You know what I'm saying? Listening to your music, I don't even know where I would put you, honestly. I mean, like I said, there's funk, there's soul, there's progressive rock, there's a little of this, a little of that. And I see more and more bands going in that direction, that they're not, it's not country that you got to go down to Nashville and get some airtime that way. People are like, you could call them blues rockers, you could call them progressive rockers. It's all over the place, which is good, I think.
What I prefer to call it is progressive rock that your girlfriend will like.
Okay, there you go. That's fair enough. I like that. That's fair enough. I mean, what was it? Music on the Wind. I heard like horns. Did you have a background with horns, or was it the keyboards? Or?
Well, Music on the Wind actually is a really, really important song for me. That song was written about my dad 2 days before he died.
Oh, I'm sorry, but okay.
And so it's a very important, touching song for me. And my dad's nickname was SOB, which stood for Sweet Old Bob.
Okay.
And that song was written about just the idea of coming home, that the transition is a kind of homecoming.
Gotcha.
Okay? I'll just leave it at that. But I will say one of the nicest, one of the very nicest memories I have around that song was the fact that we were able to perform it at my dad's funeral live, and it went very, very well. And also, we had a gentleman who was a longtime Grafenberg Disciples fan, and some of my other bands, 41.9 and Gentlemen Bastards and things like that. And unfortunately, he lost his son to a fentanyl overdose. And he reached out to me to see if we'd be able to play that song at his son's funeral. And I said, I'll do you one better. I'll be there. I'll perform it for you.
Excellent.
So Hans and I went to this beautiful, beautiful church down in the South Bay of Bay Area, at San Francisco Bay Area. And we performed a version of that song that was just myself on bass guitar and Hans on vocals. And I think it went over pretty good because there wasn't really a dry eye in the house.
No Words is hands down number one, but that's my second favorite. I would put that on. I would put it on a rotation today. I really fell in love with that song. I listened to all of it. A Madman's Lullaby. I mean, I listened to them because I was itching for more. I'm like, it's hard to talk to somebody without hearing more. What's their influences? What's their sound? What's it going on? So yeah, I'm looking forward to the album coming out on April 7th. Boy, we touched upon so much in different angles and different directions. How did I normally, besides screwing up the name of your album, I normally start.
We're going to work all the way around the head. We're just going to.
Now I feel like I'm part of it. Thank God the other guy said, breathing out of your mouth. I normally start off, Bob, with saying, how did you find your love for music and why the bass? Was it mom and dad watching the Beatles? What was it that said, man, gravitated you to, I want to get involved with that?
Actually, I do remember very distinctly. It's one of my earliest memories is riding in the old station wagon. Remember the old?
Oh, we had one, a wooden panel, Mercury, 1974, or something like that.
Yep.
Looked like the Partridge Family.
I think it was 1969 or 1970, maybe 71. I was still in a car seat. The ones that had no padding and the metal bar.
Of course, no. That's what made us so good.
We survived.
We survived, Bob. Yes.
I remember hearing a Doobie Brothers song, and there was two distinct guitars dueling back and forth. And I said, Mommy, those guitars are talking to each other. And that's where I got fascinated with music. I started playing guitar when I was about 6 or 7.
Nice.
Bass when I was about 15, and just I remember switching. The moment that I knew I wanted to switch to bass was there was a gentleman in high school, and he came in with a Fender Jazz. And I was a guitar player at that time, big into Ozzy Osbourne or Randy Rhoads,
Oh
Iron
boy.
Maiden, all that stuff. Rainbow, all the rock stars. And I picked up this bass. I said, can I try that? And he hands it to me, and I picked it up, and I felt like I came home. Something about it was right. I knew that was my instrument. So then I went home and begged and pestered my folks to get me a bass guitar for like the next year, and eventually ended up with I bought a bass, a Flying V bass.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the thing was horrible. It was so bad. But I bought it.
It was horrible.
Oh, a buddy in the neighborhood, and really never looked back. And then from there, it branched off into Mark King of Level 42, Pino Palladino, of course Geddy, Chris Squire.
Oh my God, Chris Squire.
Yeah, Billy Sheehan was a big influence. And then also jazz artists like Stanley Clarke, Abraham Laboriel, Michael Manring, who I was very fortunate enough to study with for a short time. These guys are just they're my pantheon of gods. Okay, those are the ones. So when I approach a song, I'm always going, what would Pino do, or what would Stanley do here? And I'm doing my own poor imitation of those. But it's something to aspire to. These guys set the bench stone. We're standing on their shoulders. So it's always nice to look back and reflect on what they've done, and then how can I make it my own? How can I go one step further?
It's pretty interesting to hear, artists would say, I put I'm a hands-on guy. I got to go to the record store. I got to open and pull it out, look at the liner notes, grab the vinyl. And, you hear a musician say, man, I put it on, man, I'm listening, and I put it back. And today, YouTube, you just go to a video of, Chris Squire playing it, and you go, oh, what was he doing? How did he do that? It's like,
yeah, it's not the same thing. When we were young, we used to actually, I don't know how, I knew all the studios. I knew all the engineers. I knew who the producers were. I knew who was the session players. I recognized the names from reading the credits. And then I would find out what articles they were in, and I would go read their interviews and learn about them. And yeah, it's a different world. It's a different world that we live in. However, I will say that, le plus ça change, le plus la même chose. The more things change, the more they stay the same. There still is an amazing amount of music being made. There are amazing musicians that are taking their art to a whole nother level. And I'm actually really, really proud and hopeful for music because of what I'm seeing in the next generations.
Yeah, when people say to me, rock is dead, I'm like, I don't know what you're listening to. I found my niche. There's some great, I mean, even with COVID, a lot of guitar stores sold out of inventory because people were itching to do something. I'm like screaming at people, the trend is I put an album out and I go on tour. Now we're afraid to put an album out during COVID. And I'm going, no, now is the time. Put it out. You got their attention. They're looking for crap because not crap. They're looking for things to gravitate to and listen to. So when you go live and you get to the fourth song to take a breath, you could say, okay, this is off our new album. They're not going to run to get a beer or go to the bathroom. They should know it. So take advantage of the audience that we had. And it took a while, but I was like, I'm living my dream. My problem was, am I ever going to go to another live show again? Am I ever going to hang out with my buddy Billy Gibbons or any of the friends that I made throughout my career? I'm like going meet and greets. I'm like, what meet and greets? COVID, social distance picture. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But
the thing is that unfortunately, there's a lot of different elements to this, obviously, but we are looking at a bit of a downturn in some of the touring because of costs. And I think that's going to work itself out over the next couple of years. Okay. But I went to a convention recently that said that they are forecasting a 7 100% increase in demand for live entertainment.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. And so it's going to happen. We just have to be patient. We just have to figure out new, more efficient, and maybe on smaller scale ways to bring our music to an audience.
I hear you. We have Daryl's house, Daryl Hall's, live from Daryl's house,
Yeah.
pretty
That
much
would
in
be a
my
bucket list
backyard.
thing.
And I was introducing all the bands there. And my first show there, I'm hugging everybody because I didn't know we would ever be back. But you want to see people like coming out of like animals coming out of cages to go to a live show. And I was just saying to Edgar Winter not too long ago, I said, Edgar, you know, the war in Ukraine, what is wrong with this world? You could go to a show and there's maybe 500 people in a small venue, or you can go to a stadium and there's 60,000 people. But for an hour and a half, I don't even know these people, but we're all having a great time, high-fiving, singing back. You forget all your headaches. Why can't that just carry out when the show is over without, you know, cutting somebody off and shooting and road rage and all this other? I'm like, thank God we have music, because without music, I don't know what this world would turn out to be anymore.
Honestly, I gotta hand it back to you. I'm just grateful that we have guys like you that are out there, that are telling people about new music, that are continuing to keep the information going. You know, it's just amazing to me how, you know, I'll use a Western definition of 12 organized tones. Okay, everything's based on 12 organized tones, and yet our entire species has an emotional, visceral reaction to the organization of 12 tones. That's it. It's something so simple, so primal, and so part of our DNA that if we could all realize that we have more in common than differences,
right,
go a long way. Now, beside the point, okay, if you have any ins at Daryl's house and can get Grafenberg Disciples a gig there, there's a beer in it for you. Okay, there's a beer in it for you.
I'm a Grey Goose guy. I'm trying to lose the weight, Bob, but I'm sure we can figure that out.
Okay.
Not a problem. Anyhow, I've taken enough of your time. I'm definitely going to throw Cry, A Million Tears, and I'm going to throw Music on the Wind on our rotation. It's going to be good. And I hope every Rush fan, I'm so happy for you. Like I said, there's no such thing as a coincidence. You connected with Kevin, and I pray that every Rush fan. I'll tell you something. And I was just, when I watched the No Words video, I was kind of disappointed. I'm like, 20,000 views. I mean, look, 20,000 views is 20. But I'm like, where is everybody? Where is the Rush crowd? What do we got to do to get it out there? And not just for you, but at least to keep the spirit alive, and for the proceeds, for the research, for everything about it. I don't get
That's guys like you. I can't do it. I get stopped by the Facebook algorithms. But guys like you, you're able, you have a voice, you have a platform, you have a following. You can tell people about this stuff. And I for one, am
that's why
grateful.
And that's why I'm turning at the Y to go to the videos. You know, I miss MTV. I grew up with it like everybody else, but I'm like, you know what? I say to my kids, but they're in their 30s, we live in a visual world anymore, Bob. You can make one video, could go viral, and before you know it, everybody knows you. So I said, what am I doing wrong here? It's great to play the new music and go to the shows and support, but I'm riding my tractor, you know, just cutting the grass, and I'm like, I got to do something. Pulling my hair. I came up with, you like this one, I came up with 5 for it all. I can't use a specific word, but I go to a Grafenberg Disciples show and have you and Hans roll 5 dice. And if you get 5 of a kind in 3 rolls, I play your entire album on my radio show. And it's only happened once for my man Jesse Triplett of Collective Soul. And every artist, Alice Cooper, Billy Gibbons, Cheap Trick, every known band that you can imagine has rolled the dice with Pat. Paul Rogers, the great Paul Rogers, has a 16 album. He had a 16 album live track that he did at Royal Albert Hall. And I interviewed him because he was coming to New York. And it was on my birthday. I said, "Oh my God, Paul, I'm like living my dream. My hair's standing. My birthday." He sang me happy birthday. And I told him about the dice game. He goes, "You're coming backstage." And I said, no, it's okay. No. So we went to the show and I took my brother and we were online like the meet and greet, but I always go last. I don't want to bother the folks that are corporate and whatever. And my brother goes up first and Paul was just so nice guy. He's like, "And you are?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm Andy. My brother Pat interviewed you." "Pat, tell him about the dice." And I'm like, "Oh my God, Paul Rogers is calling me the dice." Right into his dressing room, met his wife. We rolled the dice. He got like 2 threes. He goes, "Look over there." And I looked, not even thinking. And he rolled the rest of the dice. So we got the 5. But you can go to my YouTube channel and watch everybody roll the dice. And I know if I get Bob at Daryl's house or anywhere close to New York, he'll be rolling the dice too, so we can support great new music from the newest album, Breathing Through My Ears. Bob, talk to me about the social media platforms. I know you're on Facebook because I hit that up, so I could tag you to this link when we're done. On also Instagram and all that good stuff.
Yes, we are on Instagram. This is a whole new world for me. But we are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We are on TikTok.
Twitter.
We've got the YouTube channels for all the different video projects that we're
doing. Hit the subscribe button. They need the numbers. Hit the subscribe button.
Yeah, please do. The next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking the band live. And believe it or not, one of the prerequisites of being able to go live, booking agents always look at your social media numbers. And if you want to see Grafenberg in your neck of the woods, please hit subscribe.
Absolutely.
Hit follow, hit likes.
Where can they buy, Bob? Where can they buy the album when it comes out on April 7th? Is it going to be on Amazon? Can they go to your website?
They can. Well, if you go to our website, that helps the band a little bit more. But
go to the website then.
Yeah, the HighlanderCo.com. However, it is also going to be available through Amazon, through iTunes, through Spotify. Basically, anywhere you go to buy music, we're going to be there. Anywhere you go to listen to music, we're going to be there.
Well, congratulations, my friend, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I have. If you need anything, let Jody know, or you hit me up on any of the socials. I'm here for you, and when the album comes out, looking forward to getting you back. And if I can help you at Daryl's or anywhere in the tri-state area, you just let me know. We will work on it.
All right. Thank you, friend.
Keeping new music alive is what I do. Bob Madsen, the Grafenberg Disciples. What a great cover, too. It kind of looks like Johnny on the Spot, the same lion head, only with a little thing coming out. So,
well, that was, of course, you notice the diving goggles and the snorkel. Kind of goes with the Breathing Through My Ears routine. And one final thing, actually, that album cover was a lot of fun. I drew that album. Okay, that's actually one of my drawings, and I haven't drawn anything like that in over 20 years. So I was able to dust off old skills and create the album cover.
I love it. It looks great. It's different. It looks great, and I love the title. Boy, nobody has that one, so it's all good. Go get it today. Check it out. April 7th, the Grafenberg Disciples. Check it out. We're going to be playing a lot of it. So thank you, Bob.
All right. Take care.